Trump's big, beautiful bill is. Oh, it's not gonna pass. Uh oh. The GOP led House Budget Committee just voted to reject Trump's big budget bill, an embarrassing setback for Republicans. Five conservative hardliners joined old Democrats in voting against the bill. So from what I recall correctly, the only reason why these five guys fucking decided to vote against this bill, if I recall correctly, there was just not enough budget cuts, and they were just mad about the fact like, oh, the government is spending too much money or something. Is that the problem? Let me take a look. House Republicans block Trump's big beautiful bill in major setback. Right-wing lawmakers say the president's bill centered on tax cuts and funding deportations doesn't make enough cuts. Funding tax cuts and funding centered on tax cuts and funding deportations. We've seen what the Trump tax cuts are, right? What their effects are going to be. Trump tax cuts 2025. We've seen the graph, right? This graph, where it's the top 5% who are going to be the ones who mainly benefit, and everyone else is going to get their taxes raised. And, hey, average normie Republicans. The Republicans, the party, they fucking hate you. Whoa, crazy! I know. Who would have thought? But let's see. What do we have? What's in this bill? Right-wing lawmakers derailed Donald Trump's signature legislation in the House of Representatives on Friday, preventing its passage through a key committee and throwing into question whether Republicans can coalesce around the massive bill. The party spent weeks negotiating a measure dubbed One Big Beautiful Bill that would extend tax cuts enacted during Trump's first term. So those are the 2017 tax cuts that Trump wants to be made permanent, if I recall correctly. Those wretched, horrible, horrible things fund mass deportations of undocumented immigrants, which is illegal under the Constitution. He's not allowed to do that without giving them due process. Fantastic, excellent. And temporarily make good on his campaign process to end the taxation of tips and overtime. I don't even know why that shit gets fucking taxed to begin with. I don't know. Sure, man. Whatever. I love tax cuts when mine are gonna go up this year. I love that too. Woo, let's go. Anywho. To offset its cuts, Republicans have proposed cuts to the federal safety net, including Medicaid and supplemental nutritional assistance program. So, of course, like always, to fund their wretched, terrible, terrible bills and stuff, what do Republicans do and all conservatives do in general? They love to cut social safety programs every single time. Woo! It's the same shit every single time. The Republicans, they hate you. That's why they do this stuff, because they fucking hate you. Crazy. Who would have thought? And also, we all know, the cuts. It's about $1 trillion being cut to Medicaid, which is one of the most popular, most successful programs, right? About $1 trillion they're going to cut. It's 880 billion, if I recall correctly. So that's cool. That's great. At a House Budget Committee hearing on Friday intended to advance the measure one step closer to a floor vote, 4 Republican members of the far-right Freedom Caucus joined with the Democratic minority to block it from proceeding, arguing the legislation does not make deep enough cuts to federal spending into programs they dislike. Let me guess. They don't like the fact that brown people are getting assistance. Is that what it is? Is that what it is? Even though those programs have already been completely and utterly destroyed. But, I mean, the fun thing about the Republicans, they don't care about any of that shit. Whoa, crazy, I know. Damn. This bill falls profoundly short. It does not do what it says it does with respect to deficits, said Trip Roy. This is one of the main guys who's been talking about this, right? Pushing for this bill to not go through. Chip Roy, I believe. Probably insane. Don't think there really has to be I don't know. I don't think you have to be hyperbolic for that. Texas representative who opposed the bills alongside fellow Freedom Caucus members Andrew Clyde of Georgia, Josh Breachin of Oklahoma, and Ralph Norman of South Carolina. Pennsylvania's Lloyd Schmucker initially voted to advance the bill, then changed his vote to no at last minute. So that's where we get our 4 Republicans then. Lovely. I do find it really funny that this shit's just not basically going through. Super, super funny. Which, let's see, vote to advance the bill, then changed his vote to no last minute, which he said was a procedural maneuver to allow the bill to be reconsidered in the future. Chip Roy wants to cut even more. Jesus Christ. Am I shocked? I thought the Freedom Caucus were supposed to be the populist Republicans. What happened, Republicans? Crazy. It's almost as if there is, like I've been talking about before, no such thing as a populist conservative. It's complete bunk bullshit nonsense, right? Like, for real. Like, do we need to be like, I don't know, hyperbolic about this or something? I don't know. It's just silly, dude. The thought that these motherfuckers thought that any of them, like, would like care about you in any way, shape, or form. It's so funny. Yeah, pretty much Boy Meets Mini. The setback raises the stakes for the House Speaker Mike Johnson, who had set a goal of Memorial Day to get the legislation passed through the House and onto the Senate. Trump has said he would like to have this bill on his desk by July 4th, Independence Day, and early on Friday attempted to pressure conservative holdouts. Oh, Chip Roy, he's a great guy, but I don't know, he should probably advance the bill. Like, I think it would be a good thing, folks. Let me tell you, is like how I imagine that plays out, and inevitably it probably doesn't end up working at all because, like, I don't know, they want to cut more. It's genuinely, it's one of those things where it's so insane that it's just like, yeah, dude, like, yeah, whoa. Should I be, like, surprised at all that this is the case? That certain Republicans want to cut even more from the social safety net? Because, again, when it comes to the Republicans, it's all about the hatred. They just hate you. Plain and simple. It really doesn't get any more difficult than that. Republicans must unite behind the one big, beautiful bill. Even though it's, like, one of the most dog shit budget bills on the fucking planet. We just want to, listen, it's just all about cutting your Medicaid and funding more deportations, which means it's obviously the greatest bill ever made since Swiss cheese, obviously. We don't need grandstanders in the Republican Party. Stop talking and get it done. Sure, man. As if that'll definitely happen. Later on Friday, the Budget Committee announced it would reconvene on Sunday night to consider the bill, giving Johnson another couple of days to find agreement with the hardliners. Republicans are crafting the bill using the budget reconciliation procedure, which Senate Democrats cannot block with the filibuster. Yeah, because they don't have enough numbers. But the GOP is split over what to include and what to cut in the expensive legislation, which Congress's nonpartisan Joint Committee on Taxation estimates will cost $3.7 trillion through 2034. Right-wing lawmakers want to see big reductions in government spending, which has climbed in recent years as Trump and Joe Biden responded to the COVID-19 pandemic and pursued their own economic policies. The funniest thing about this is because of the tariffs, this is only going to exacerbate the problem and make it worse. It's very, very funny. We're committed to ensuring the final package is fiscally responsible. Sure, man. Right-sizing government and putting our fiscal future back on track. Unfortunately, the current version falls short of these goals and fails to deliver the transformative change that Americans were promised, Clyde said at the Budget Committee. So you want to, instead of $880 billion in terms of cuts to Medicaid, what you want that to be like even higher or something? Is that the ploy? Is that the plan? Is that the meme that we're going with? Like, quite literally, it's fucking crazy. Again, Medicaid approval rating. So, very favorable or somewhat favorable. About 3/4 of the public have a very favorable or somewhat favorable opinion of Medicaid. That's crazy. But that's cool. It's fantastic. Republicans want to cut it because again, they don't care about you. They hate you. That's the whole point. It's all about the hatred here, people. That's the point. So that's cool. Fantastic. And Medicaid, of course, is one of the most popular fucking goddamn social programs of the complete threadbare safety net that broadly exists within the United States of America. Medicaid is one of the better ones, but nah, fuck it. Who cares? He called for deeper cuts to Medicaid, but many Republicans in the House and Senate have signaled nervousness with dramatic funding reductions to the program that provides health care to lower-income and disabled Americans. Others in the GOP dislike parts of the bill that would not cut green tax credits caused by Biden's Inflation Reduction Act. Of course, because Republicans are all conspiratorial fucking freaks who have to be real concerned about the climate change or pretend to feign just are completely fucking ignorant when it comes to the problem of climate change. So that's cool. And a small group of Republicans representing districts in blue states such as New York and New Jersey are demanding an increase in the deduction for state and local taxes, saying it will provide needed relief to their constituents. So those are that's money that's allocated, if I recall correctly, salt the salt tax reductions. Basically what that shit is for helping to pay for certain services and shit like that. Let me double check. What is salt money used for? Well, that's ancient Rome. I want the history of salt. It's because I'm not getting the term correctly. What? It's, state and local taxes. Yeah, for paying for public services and infrastructure that benefit the residents. Like I figured. It's for local taxes, basically. And they want, what? Deductions in that? An increase in the deduction. Oh, okay. So they want more. Okay. So basically, what they want is they want more money in order to be able to pay for goods and for public services within their more blue districts, or rather, their more purple districts in more blue states, because it's going to be quite difficult for them to make the argument saying yeah, we cut local funding for our what we did? We cut a bunch of local funding that we needed for, local fucking services and stuff like that. Because that's going to play very well in the more blue districts that they inhabit, right? That's why they want this. But including that would drive the cost of the bill even higher, risking the ire of fiscal conservatives. Yeah. I'll be honest, I fucking hate this idea of fiscal fucking conservatives, okay? What the fuck does that even mean? Who gives a shit about fiscal conservatism, okay? That shit is fucking meaningless to me. Literally means absolutely fucking jack shit. There is no such thing as a fiscal conservative. Every fiscal conservative is just a conservative. There is no fucking fundamental difference. I hate the fact that we have to make these fucking distinctions. I find them really, really obnoxious. I'll be quite fucking honest. Yeah, bros, guys, yeah, if we don't spend anything on the budget, that means, totally, that's definitely how it'll work out. If we just spend nothing, forehead, therefore we'll save a bunch of money, bros. Yeah, man. It's so fucking silly, man. Johnson has a little choice but to listen to all of these groups. The GOP can afford to lose no more than 3 votes in the chamber, a historically small margin that has made passing legislation a tightrope walk. So let's keep it $1.50 here. These fucking Republicans are not doing this for any particular altruistic reasoning, okay? Let's stop the fucking cap, okay? They're not doing this because they're very concerned about fiscal responsibility or any of that fucking bullshit. No, these motherfuckers could care less about that shit, okay? They're doing this because they want to have like more tax cuts for the rich, broadly speaking. None of these guys give a flying shit about any of this stuff. All right, let's be fucking honest. Trying to like claim about fiscal responsibility, but none of like I'm gonna ask this like immediate question: do any of these guys want to cut like say the military budget, for example? Would any of these guys want to cut the military budget? Honest question. Personally, I have a feeling that it's no. I don't think any of these guys would want to cut the military budget. Because you want to talk about like fucking fiscal responsibility? How about cutting that shit, alright? That'll actually make a dent in terms of fiscal responsibility. But, well, you know, meh. Who would ever want to cut the military budget? For Ukraine, probably. I guess it would depend. Yeah, if it's like, if we're talking about like Freedom Caucus freaks, oh yeah, they would cut it for Ukraine, I think. Yeah, I don't think that's ridiculous to say. They would. Because they're just a bunch of like weirdo freaks. But, well, you know, as expected from these people who call themselves fiscally responsible. Yeah, sure, man. Totally. Definitely in my heckin' Epicarino soy wholesome big chungus pilled Republican Party. Totally, man. They sure do care about fiscal responsibility. No, like we broadly speaking, we know things that can like if we want to like make revenue in terms of the United States of America. You want to know what you cut? What you go after? You go after the billionaires and the millionaires. Okay, have a fucking goddamn wealth tax. Okay, cut military spending because the U.S. is not at war with anyone. You want to save some fucking money? There you go. You want to make some fucking revenue? There you go. But again, these Republicans will never do that, ever. They are in solidarity with one class and one class only. That is the rich. And they are willing to do anything possible to just make your life fundamentally worse. I'm assuming like people like Chip Roy and a lot of these other Freedom Caucus freaks, one of the big reasons that they can very easily get away with this stuff is because they're in very, very safe red districts. So they can just do and say anything they want. It doesn't matter. Who cares? They can just go like, we don't have to give a shit about any of this stuff. Fuck it. Who cares? So they know that they can get away with just saying the most wretched, abhorrent shit because they know they're not going to get punished for it in their upcoming elections. They know this. So that's why they push for, well, basically the worst of the worst of the worst. Let's be honest here. Like, I'm not being hyperbolic here when I say that, like, yeah, Republicans, fundamentally speaking, they do not care about you. They never have cared about you. They never will care about you. So the idea that this is all about fiscal responsibility or, you know, honestly, like, even, like, the more, like, sort of purple district Republicans are honestly the ones that I agree with most because at least they're trying to provide something for their constituencies. All these, like, fiscally responsive fucking dipshits, they don't give a shit about any of that stuff. They never have given a shit about any of this stuff. For them, it's all about one thing and one thing only. Providing way, way, way more money for, well, corporations and the rich. That's what it's all overall. That's what they care the most about. They don't care about average people. Let's be honest. Hot take, I actually think most Americans are okay with these possibles. They voted for this. Fuck around and find out. I disagree with that. Most Americans don't understand what these policies mean, Boy Meets Minnie. They don't understand it. Because they're not really educated in knowing how these policies functionally work. Let's be honest here. I don't think most of your average Americans are really interested in having all of their social safety nets cut. So let's be honest here. Are people demanding for fucking cuts to Medicaid? I don't think so. Like, I don't think that this is like a... Also, if I recall correctly, Donald Trump didn't even win with like a majority of the population, but I think you think too lowly of Americans. I think this is a fundamental flaw in your thinking, Boy Meets Minnie. I think like you think way too lowly of your average American about how much they hate Americans. A bunch of of people in America definitely do hate like other Americans. But I think that's a small, like a significant, like minority of people. I'll be quite honest. Like, I don't think it's that many people. Let's keep it $1.50. But yeah, I mean, we broadly speaking, we understand what's sort of like the thing here, right? Like, these people, it's not about like fiscal responsibility with these Republicans. They don't care about fiscal responsibility. It's never been about that. They could care less about that shit. No, what it is that they want to provide as many tax cuts as possible for the rich. This is what they want, obviously. The current tax proposals for the rich is 5%. Like, let's get a zoom in on the graph. God, there's, what the hell is the graph? There it is. This is what he wants. And he also wants to make those 2017 tax cuts, which was one of the largest transfers of wealth ever recorded in human history, to the rich. That's another thing that he wants as well. Because again, who does Donald Trump serve? It's certainly not like your average Americans. Of course not. He serves the rich. Duh. And if you don't see it in any other light, I suppose, then you're getting like taken for a ride. You're being duped. But it's always been all about that in particular, right? Never been about like fundamental change. These people are against any form of change. Let's be honest here. So, as far as I'm concerned, the Republicans can like keep fighting over this bill. They can like suffer if these if this bill just doesn't go through, because it's going through via budget reconciliation, so there's really not much the Democrats can do to block this, because they don't have the numbers in the House or the Senate. So if this goes through, it goes through. So if this is all about just making Republicans have as much infighting as possible and look as incompetent as possible, then I think this is overall just a sort of political win here for the Democrats. They can, I guess, sit around and do nothing. It's very, very funny how it always ends up with, like, sometimes the do-nothing bros just stay winning. But, we'll have to wait and see what happens with this sort of, like, budget bill, like, if it goes through. I don't think it's going to go through. It's probably not going to go through on the timeline that Mike Johnson wants. Probably not. And, honestly, if it's making him look as incompetent as possible and thus causing more instability in the sort of like fascist project, then overall I would say this is a pretty good thing. So let them fight, let them squabble amongst themselves like they always seem to do, and if this means a delaying in terms of the suffering of the American people, then I think that's probably the ideal outcome. But yeah, I think that's all I really got to say about this.